One Piece chapter 1166, it is titled New Stories, and we got a colored cover page where Yamato and Otama, they are collecting fallen leaves and making sweet potatoes with tanukis and foxes. And I'd say this cover page, it's kind of fitting with the fall weather and Thanksgiving being around the corner. Love seeing the straw hats and just overall this cover page. And quickly, now that, I guess the theme, I just want to say, and I probably won't be making another video before then, but just happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Just want to, show you guys love and, just say thank you for all the support you've, been showing, whether it's the long videos, YouTube shorts, and TikTok. I really do appreciate it, and I hope you guys are enjoying your Thanksgiving. I am truly, will enjoy. I'm truly blessed for each and every one of you guys. But with that out of the way, my name is Potential Unleashed. Let's get into this chapter's breakdown. In the last chapter, Roger and Garp, they went all out in order to defeat Rocks. They compiled a large amount of Conqueror's Haki mass so that they could defeat a Dome University Rocks, and they did it with the God of Fire Ace and Infinitum Explosion. They successfully put Rocks out of commission, and we pick up this chapter with everyone being knocked out. I believe in the last chapter, Garp, he stated that, in using that Conqueror's mass, it would exhaust their stamina, which explains why everyone is knocked out, why they can't even move a muscle. Now, something that is really interesting to me is that the curse or the Dome University that it ended up wearing off, was it because of a time limit? Was it because of the Conqueror's Haki? And if it was the Conqueror's Haki, then that means that Conqueror's Haki mass is the next step that Luffy and Zoro, they need to take whenever they go back to Elbaph, dealing with Emu, dealing with a Dome University Dory or Bragi, etc. But it does confirm that the Dome University, that it can be broken. Out of all the combatants, Rocks, he was the only one that remained conscious, and unfortunately, the Holy Knights, including Garling, Summers, and Matthew, they are headed in that direction. And unfortunately, Garling, he delivers the decisive blow, and he ends up being the one that kills the bet. I do think that it is kind of whack that the Holy Knights, they're the ones that deliver this final blow. On one hand, I think it makes sense because, well, who else would have done it? But also, well, we saw a few chapters ago that Rocks, he was putting Garling to shame. He was dunking on him. He was giving him do business. And so I feel like it's a little bit cheap that they killed him after someone else did the heavy lifting, especially because one, Garling already got owned, and two, he couldn't even fight back or even defend himself. We also saw in the last chapter that Gabon and Rayleigh, that they went back. Well, the reason why they did this was because they had to go save Garp and Roger. Since they're out of commission, well, someone had to go save them, and it reminds me so much of Zoro and Sanji and how they would do this time and time again. This is the end of God Valley. The island, it ended up crumbling in on itself. The curtain is closed. Everyone went their separate ways. The incident, we closed the page. Nobody ever speaks about this. Now, I will. I plan on doing an in-depth video just giving my thoughts about the God Valley flashback. Probably gonna do a couple of videos about it, so you guys should definitely be tuned in for that. We cut back to Roger's ship, the Oro Jackson. He is back up after recuperating, from that long fight, and all his crew, they had been waiting. They got Shaggy back, they got other treasure. They're like, we can't open this treasure until Roger, he is awake. And as Roger, he's headed towards the treasure, all of a sudden he hears some noise coming from the treasure chest, which he opens, and lo and behold, it is baby Shanks. Now, we already knew this. We knew this from a couple of things. We knew it from volume, I believe it's 4 billion. We saw Shanks then. We also saw it during film Red, at least in Shanks's flashback when he thought about Utsa. We saw it there as well. But if you guys enjoy regular One Piece content, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you guys never miss out on a new video. I pump out different One Piece content almost each and every day. The downfall of the Rock Pirates, it ended up spreading throughout the world. Morgans, he painted the picture that Garp was the reason for their defeat. Hence how Garp got the name the Hero. And well, this obviously pissed Garp off because he doesn't want credit for something that, well, he didn't do. Sengoku's here as well, and we got just a little bit of insight as to what Sengoku believes in. And Sengoku, he essentially is like, hey, the world government is massive, and there's going to be some areas where upper management that they're going to do some insane thing. Since we can't control everything, well, guess what? If it doesn't bother me, then I'ma just look the other way. Which to a certain degree, I kind of get what Sengoku is talking about. Like, he's only one person. What the heck is he supposed to do? I mean, the only thing he really can do is just do his job and climb the ranks that way. But then I also see from Garp's perspective, right, why he's upset, because in hearing this statement, it pissed him off. Garp, he wants to change the Marines from within. He wants to change all aspects of it, but sometimes that's a little bit unrealistic. So I like the different dynamic that the two have with each other and how they were frustrated with the different beliefs. But we know that Garp isn't going to get in the way of Sengoku, but if Sengoku ever strays from the righteous path and he ends up turning into something like the Celestial Dragons, the Holy Knights, etc., well, Garp will kill him himself. And well, Sengoku, he's alive to this day, so it looks like he didn't stray from that path. Also, we find out, and we kind of figured this out in the last chapter, but the reason, even though he knows that there's corruption, that the upper brass, that they're no good, the reason why Garp stays with the Marines is because, well, there's a lot of good-natured people there. There's a lot of, weaker individuals there at the bottom. So someone has to protect them. And I mean, shoot, we saw what Garp's impact did. We saw him be a mentor for Kobe. We saw, him be a mentor for the members of the Sword, and how he went to Hachinosu, sacrificed himself for the future of the Marine. We cut back to Elbaph, and Loki, he is bawling his eyes out because, and rightfully so, it's because the man that he looked up to, the man that he admired in Xebec, he was just killed. And we got a flashback of Loki and Rox. They were talking where Loki said, hey, he believes that Rox is Nika. And I will say, this kind of reminded me a little bit of King when he was having that dialogue, that conversation with Kaido, during the flashback. He was like, hey, Kaido, are you Nika? Or I think you're Joy Boy, or something along those lines. How King, just threw that on him, threw that beliefs on him, and Kaido was like, well, I'm not necessarily that. And the same thing happened here. Xebec told Loki, he was like, Nika, he may want to destroy the world. I don't necessarily want to do that. I want to be king. But if anyone is going to be Joy Boy or has that power, it's probably Harald. That power would be controlling the Galilea, which essentially that's the ancient giants that were shipwrights. If Rox, he had that, well, if Harald had that power under his control, well, Rox and Harald are friends. Rox is like, oh, bet if I can get Harald, I can get them. I can be the king. Which explains why Emu wants the giants. Yes, they're strong. Yes, they can shift the tide of battle. But if you got the Galilea under your control, oh baby, you're in business. This chapter jumps around a little bit because we cut to a random island. There's a giant that is causing chaos. He's a ruffian, and Harald chose to deal with him personally. We know that the giants, even though Harald is trying his best to, paint a new picture as to how people view them, that some people still think that the giants are dangerous, that they're scary, and, well, that they're ruffians. And so this person was causing chaos. Harold's like, all right, bet. If you want to make the giants look bad, I'm going to deal with you myself. And it got to the point where Harald was beating him. This man was unconscious. Harald, he had already passed out, and you were still beating on him. And this is because, yes, Harald, he's trying to be better for the sake of Elbaph, but he just lost his best friend. He lost one of his only friends, and so he needed some way to let that anger and that frustration out. I think what makes it even more heartbreaking is that Harald, he was so obsessed with Elbaph and wanting it to join the world government that he did nothing. He did absolutely nothing to help Rox, even though he asked for his help. His greatest friend begged him, was on his knees.
I'm on my knees, Stacy, praying, worshiping.
On his knees, begging him for help. And Harald, he turned the other way. He backstabbed his friend, and he left him to die. Shout out Dragon. I love Dragon in this chapter. We know that he is in prison for insubordination. If you guys don't know what that is, essentially, it's a military term whenever you go against your superior's orders and you gotta do the time. Dragon's in prison, and one thing I respect about him is immediately he tells Garp, who is standing right there, he's like, yeah, nah, I ain't rocking with what happened at God Valley. I'm quitting the Navy. And Dad, you know, I'm disgusted with you. I lost all respect for you. To which Garp, in his response, he can't say nothing. He dropped the key in the cell for Dragon to be free, and he was like, yeah, I know. Dragon, he is obviously upset with Garp, who has the strength, who has the influence, that he didn't do anything at God Valley. And yes, I know he fought Emu, and yes, I know that he stopped Brock, so let me not say he didn't do anything. But from Dragon's point of view, with all the strength, all the influence, well, Garp could have done more. Dragon gets a lot of hate, and I'm really happy that we got to see how he became the leader of the Revolutionary Army. What was his motivation? It was him being at God Valley, him being able to see the truth for himself. This is where he realized, you know, the pirates could potentially be bad, but they're not necessarily the real villains of the world. No, it's the world government, when more specifically, the Celestial Dragons and Emu. Which also puts into perspective as to when he figured out that Luffy was going to be a pirate, he told him, hey, Luffy, live as you wish, live as you see fit. Now, the biggest reveal at the end of the chapter, we have Harald. He ends up sailing to Navy HQ, and he rips his horns out of his head, showcasing that the King of the Giants, that he wants to atone for all the wrongdoings of the Giants of Elbaph. They want to live a life of peace. They don't want their children to be raised in this war, in this violence. No, they don't want none of that. Harald offered himself as a sacrifice alone to atone for the sin of the warriors of Elbaph, even if that means become a slave. Harald did all of this because he was devastated at the whole incident with Rocks, with his death, and it caused him to be a little bit more desperate in joining the world government. And this is exactly why you tell people, hey, don't do anything rash, think about it, give yourself time to grieve, because, well, Harald, you kind of fluffed yourself, man. Harald thinks he's doing good, and obviously, right from his point of view, he's like, hey, I'm sacrificing myself, we'll be good. Emu has other plans. Emu is definitely going to take advantage of you. They're going to turn you into the Domi Reversi crap and try to take over all of Elbaph and all of the Giants' mind. But that's it for this chapter. That was chapter 1166. Let me know how you guys felt about it in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you guys never miss out on a new video. Follow my Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok is on the screen and in the description below. And don't forget to unleash your potential.